Watching a live game of football or a fight or motor racing is enjoyable for many. Um, watching sport is something which could be done collectively or as an individual. Yeah, we can have a choice in that. But it does bring people together one way or another. You know, just the thrill, the excitement of it. We all become, as one for a moment sometimes. Be it separately, we're all watching a football game, we're all watching a rugby game, for example, or whatever. Um, when I say it brings people together, this has been proven time over again. In 1969, there was a civil war in Nigeria. The Brazilian side Santos were visiting to play the national side. They had a certain player that many may have heard of called Pele with them. And literally, the civil war stopped for 2 days. Well, to watch primarily Pele play football. So, it can be an avenue to draw people together, peace, etc. Um, the Olympics, for major events such as the Olympics, I suppose World Cup, really, I'm going to focus on the Olympics here, Football World Cup, that is, or rugby, is an opportunity for people to unite, cheer for their own countries or others, even adopting one temporarily, maybe. Yeah. Um, it can help us understand different people. Yeah. Bring us all together. Still go. I'll go as far as lay aside our differences, hopefully, in sport. That you can have two countries that not necessarily best buddies um, on a political level, but athletes, competing against each other when it's all done and dusted and, the winners and losers have been decided. They can sometimes embrace each other. Learn and respect each other. I mean, on a sad side of it all, when Sana died many years ago, which has been in the news quite recently, obviously there's a series on one of the streaming services about him. Um, the world was shocked. Yeah, people used to enjoy his driving. I mean, depending on how your point of view, he was either completely mad or an absolute genius. It's just unfortunate that, probably the worst mistake he ever made was going to be his last. A superb driver. And I believe he was well liked by other drivers as well. I mean, then none of them are going to be gentlemanly to each other because they're competing for something that's high stakes. But yeah, I've never heard of anyone say that his driving was really, really appalling bad. He didn't deserve everything that he received. He got, with respect to the driving uh, awards. Um, okay, sports can be tribal. We all got our own football team, or lots of us do. Shirt on my one in the UK, support one in Brazil as well. Um, we like to yell at times for our team to do better or to do something sometimes. And yeah, we like to insult the other one. That's part of the banter. Yeah, I know we have to learn sometimes that how to do that. Again, it's all tongue in cheek a lot of the time. You get famous rivalries. The fans are rivalry, and then they'll meet each other in a bar before and afterwards anyway, and yeah, just have a bit of fun. The same with different countries as well. Um, and nowadays, we have so much opportunity to enjoy sport. We have access to watching sport literally 24/7, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We can get as much news as we want online. We can read about individual players. We can read about anyone we want. We can analyze it online, go on forums, have a discussion, or in social places such as family gatherings and a bar. Yeah, sport is a great conversation between us all. It doesn't really mean anything in itself, but it's just interesting. It takes people's minds away from whatever else is going on at the time. The positive side about sport, especially now with the way it's all worked out, it creates opportunities for people, jobs in many industries. When you actually look at it, okay, if it's on telly or streaming, it creates jobs in the media industry. Yeah, has to be serviced. Um, if you go to a stadium, it creates job in catering as well, side industries, cleaning, cleaners, anyone else associated with it, publicists. Lots of people work in the sport industry. I know it's an extension of the entertainment industry, but it's a very specific part of it. Um, it can help with evolution to a point. Yeah, it helps. Yeah, broadcasting. It's actually helped with the evolution of our broadcasting. People wanted to watch football around the world. It actually partly helped develop the satellite TV system and cable where we are now. People had a hunger for it, were willing to pay for it. It drove technology to move forward with outside broadcasting, etc. And another specific one is motor sports. Car technology has improved, become more efficient. And another side thing of motorsports, I mean, this was from F1 through to rally car driving, etc. Car safety improved. There's probably people walking away from car accidents now where they wouldn't have done many years ago, thanks to developments from the from the motorsport industry. They're fed through. You know, they protect their drivers. Yeah. Remember, these are top-notch drivers, and they sometimes have accidents, which is about center. So yeah, their whole thing is to protect their assets, their drivers, and obviously life. I mean, there's some unfortunate other side issues with motor racing. It happens occasionally, but yeah, it can inspire teamwork, cooperation. People encouraged to play sports. They might watch football, tennis, or whatever on the TV, but they want to try it, and off they go and find they can do it. When you play as a football team, you got to learn to be cooperative with each other. Otherwise, you're not going to win. It's as simple as that, especially with modern sport. Um, and the other side issue, it brings health. It sorts out health issues. People get out and exercise. And it brings hope. You know, hope your team wins, hope of everything else. Um, and I'm gonna address the other one. It gives women, you know, goals as well in life, if you use the pun. Yeah. Um, Women's sport is now becoming into its own. Um, Women have the ability to now go and play football if they want, play rugby if they want. I mean, tennis given. I mean, yeah, the Williams sisters were incredible to watch, and a few of the others as well. Um, and again, when we watch a gymnastics, which is a big thing with the Olympics and other things, and produces interest, and if you like, gets young ladies interested in sport. Remember, there's a difference between men's gymnastics and women's gymnastics. We've got Rebecca Andrade and Simone Biles, who've inspired many, many girls to take up sport in general. And I think Simone Biles is going to be looking at that in general in the US, how to get more women involved in sport. I know there is a thing about women's pay, and I'm going to mention it here. Okay, Rebecca Andrade and Simone Biles and the Williams sisters, they did make a lot of money on the back of it. And yeah, I can't be certain, you know, that some of the top earning sports people. Okay, sometimes yeah, it's probably not always as popular as a man's sport. But you know, Ronda Rousey said, and I think in Australia when she was being interviewed, was an MMA fighter. She now plays around in WWE, the entertainment wrestling. So okay, well she's still an athlete, yeah, but yeah, she couldn't have won anything more in MMA. She said, well, if you bring the numbers in, you get paid more. Um, that's as simple as that. She brought the numbers in. She was once the highest paid person in MMA. Simply, she brought the numbers in. Yeah, okay. She could be quite aggressive and arrogant, and everything else. But yeah, she's proved herself. She's now in the entertainment industry. She's now in films. So something else led on to an alternative career for her, which we probably wouldn't have known about her anyway. I mean, she had hard times as well at one point in her life as well. So again, sport helped lift her. She might not have been able to do anything else. So my question over to you now, Steve, is what is important? What importance does sport have? Have I covered it all? Do you agree or disagree with anything I've said? Here we go.
Well, look, for the vast majority of people, sport doesn't take up part of their life as a sports person. Um, the vast majority of people don't practice sports. If they want sports, they'll go somewhere to find it. Um, you say you started off talk about live sports, and although it can be interesting to watch, it depends on what you are watching.
Right.
Excuse me. I went to the final, the last game of the Sport Recife game against Santos, and everybody, the stadium was full. Vast majority supporting sport, but there's so many side issues around you. It's very difficult just to watch the game. You know, um, so that's why we have TV. TV started to cover sports, and you had a commentator who tells you what's happening. You have close-ups of your favorite, when you talk about football, your favorite players, and they highlight. You can watch again the goal being scored, or the foul being committed, or whatever it is. So TV explains, simplifies sport for what it is. Okay. Uh, TV and the press have made sports either become popular by um, highlighting it, or less popular by ignoring it. And so you took a long time to mention women's sports, right? Because you went through everything about sports, and also you said women can do it,
Well, I didn't
which
mean
is
that.
very noble of you, right?
I didn't mean that derogatorily.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well,
yeah,
women can do it if they want.
yeah.
What made women's football more popular
Mm.
is the press
Mm.
and the TV. Uh, and so, women are getting more known. Their faces are becoming known because of the TV. Because if I showed you a photograph of a woman football player, would you recognize her? She would have to have been on the TV a lot,
Yeah, of course, yeah.
or would have to be doing a side gig like OnlyFans, or doing another side. Well, they do, the
Well,
UFC
yeah.
ladies. That some of them have got side
Well, yeah.
gigs on OnlyFans, and
Yeah, that's a slightly different
other.
thing than an OF, but yeah,
Well,
yeah,
whatever it is, it's a side
mm,
gig. It's a side
yeah,
gig,
yeah,
right? And that way they get the face, at least their face recognized when they're walking in the street,
yeah.
right? Um, on the other hand, if you're talking about something like Formula One, being there to watch it personally probably was one of the biggest disappointments in my life. That I chose the wrong racetrack to watch it. Me and a mate of mine went to Monza
All right, yeah.
uh, for the Italian Grand Prix, and the track it does the loop, but the thing is, in the center of the track is a wood,
Oh, yeah.
right, a forest. So you see the car pass you at the front here, and then it disappears until it comes around the track, does the circuit, and then comes back again.
Yeah.
So, I don't really see live much point in watching Formula One. You can go in if you have enough money, you can go into the pits, go into the pit lane. You can even rub shoulders with your favorite driver. You know, um, however, Formula One is not my cup of tea. I prefer to watch on the telly because
Mm.
the cameras are posted around the track. If anything hairy happens, they overtaking. They can give you the replay. They
Yeah.
get the commentary. And so I my favorite sport motorized sport I used to watch was Speedway,
Yeah.
motorcycle Speedway
Mm.
when I was a kid. And that was good because you could see the riders all the time.
Yeah.
The races were short,
Mm.
so the results were rather didn't take very long. It wasn't a mammoth 2 hour slog. Each race was over in a minute and a
Yeah.
half, or
Yeah.
whatever it was,
Too much. Yeah.
And you had your program that you had to
Yeah.
fill in as well,
Mm.
which you don't see much these days.
No. Yeah.
Not here in Brazil, anyway.
Mm.
And it was all part and parcel of the experience. Let's
Yeah.
put it like that. Okay. Um, Brazil used the 1970s World Cup as a for political purposes. Um, when the players came back from Mexico, I think it was,
Yeah.
they uh, they were always on the TV. Of course, they just won the World Cup,
Yeah.
you know, but all the politicians were wanted to be seen
Yeah.
taking photos at the side of Pele and
Mm.
Jairzinho, Rivellino, and all
Yeah.
of these. And it, at that time, at that time, um, it was only during the World Cup that you could see the difference between the Brazilian way of playing football and the rest of the world, mainly
Yeah.
Europe.
Yeah.
And I remember, even though I was only 9 years old, I remember watching uh, 70s World Cup, 1970s World Cup, and some of the commentaries of the commentators, because I watch it on TV, of course.
Yeah.
And they do explain rather a lot. Even when it comes down to technical points of the game,
Yeah.
they will help you out and say what's
Yeah.
going on. Um, you mentioned Ayrton Senna. Uh, you said that he made a mistake
Mm.
in his crash at San Marino. No, he didn't. It was a problem with the car.
Oh.
It was the direction rod broke,
Mm.
and he didn't have any control of the car when
Okay.
he took that curve. Excellent in the wet.
Mm.
And Senna was a wet driver.
Yeah.
He'd leave everybody behind during the wet, and he was also ruthless
Mm.
when it came to overtaking. He didn't take anybody's space,
No.
but he overtook in places where a lot of drivers would have bottled out and
Yeah.
just stayed behind their competitor.
Well. Yeah.
He had that fantastic duel between Ayrton Senna and I think it was Nigel Mansell,
Oh yeah. Remember that. Yeah.
and that was all um, head to head for
Mm.
almost the whole race. Watching live is not really um, suggested, especially when it comes to football. Perhaps basketball as well, actually. Um, these days,
Yeah.
um, when my dad was a kid, football matches, you supported your team. You didn't slag off the opposition. And that was in the days in the UK where you used to have a football rattle that used to
Yeah.
rattle, that
Okay.
span round and you rattled.
Mm.
And a true football fan would have his football rattle and his team colours.
Mm,
He would have his scarf or his bobble hat with
mm,
his team colours, and would just cheer on his team. And if
mm,
the team lost, you took it on the chin.
mm,
As long as they made a good effort, you took it on the chin. These days, because of the amount of money that's involved, if you sneeze, you get fired. You
yeah,
know, and you get called all sorts of things under the sun by the spectators.
yeah.
So I've seen British spectators having a good laugh
Mm,
in the stands, sing
yeah,
chanting.
yeah,
They make up the chants and
yeah,
talk about somebody in the stands or talk about the goalkeeper, but it's all in good fun.
yeah.
It's never directed to be malicious in any way.
No, no.
Yeah,
That's good. Yeah,
depending on what your threshold is
yeah.
for being for being for
Offended.
being
Yeah,
for being obscene. You
yeah.
know, but we're
Offensive.
talking
Yeah,
about we're talking about a group of lads going out
yeah,
and having a drink, and they get boisterous.
yeah. Yeah.
Um, like I said, online has changed the face of sport. You know, recently on the online, uh, I was watching a lot of darts. Now, in the old days, you'd only get darts on the telly on World of Sport when it was in the UK,
Yeah.
you know, or indoor league,
Mm,
which were pub games,
yeah,
by Fred Truman, I think it was,
yeah.
who presented that, or Bullseye, Bully,
Oh, yeah, yeah,
right? So, and online they have to fill 24 hours, but online now is 24 hours. So while you are sleeping,
yeah,
somebody somewhere is playing sports,
yeah.
presenting a sports competition.
Mm,
So they have to fill the void, and they have to bring in these sports like crown bowling. You know,
well,
that's been on the broadcast on the telly. You know,
that's quite tense actually. Cram round when you watch it. Yeah,
of course, curling.
yeah.
All these. You know, even chess tournaments. How about
Mm,
that? You know,
well, yeah.
so,
That's highly technical actually. If you play a
yes,
bit
of
of chess.
course. But I
Yeah.
mean, they cover it. You can see a
Mm,
chess player
mm,
pondering, pondering
yeah,
for like 5 minutes,
yeah,
and then do this move, and it's wow.
yeah,
It changes. It's devastating.
yeah.
You know. Um, the Formula One cars, yet they do an awful lot of testing for the domestic driver on High Street. And one of the most significant things that came from Formula One cars, of course, was the ABS braking, the anti-lock braking systems on Formula One cars, which I remember. I think it was in the 80s sometime, where the legislation in the UK is that all new cars had to be fitted with ABS braking when you bought them, because before then, if you break the car and you were in the wet, in an emergency, the tendency was to skid across the top of the wet road, whereas the ABS braking, it reduces that by a phenomenal amount, 80%, 90%, or something like that. So they're always, and not only the car, uh, in terms of safety, but also consumption of getting more bang for your buck for your fuel, because the cars not only have to have a strong engine, but it needs to be economical. You know, and all of this it comes around eventually to the domestic car owner. You know, yep, women's sports and their pay grades. Yeah, I totally agree with if you can put bums on seats, you should get more. At the end of the day, who pays the women in sports, excuse me, are the people that are sat there watching what they're doing. And sometimes um, you would get these sports people to change their sports, change their area of activity. We've got all the retired sports people going onto telly, going onto the TV and things like that, just to keep the coppers rolling in, you know. And if it wasn't for the telly, they wouldn't be famous or as famous, you know. We only know what George Best. I don't know if you remember George Best, but we only know what George Best looks like because of we've seen him on the telly. So when it comes down to women's pay grades in sport, yeah, um, you know, I totally agree. It should be how many bums on seats,
Yeah.
and you get women that, like you said, they change their activity
Mm.
as do sports people in general, depending
Yeah.
when they are they coming to the towards the end of their sporting
Mm.
activities.
Yeah.
And we see this through commentators, through
Mm.
punditry on the telly.
Yeah.
And so, but we would only know what they look like if because of the telly,
Mm.
because
Yeah.
of the TV, you know. So basically, sport's important because it keeps us healthy for those of us who want to take part. I go to the gym. I go
Yeah.
to the gym with my son.
Yeah.
Um, for those that don't, they transfer their desire to be a sportsman onto sportsmen.
Yeah.
You know, the armchair
Yeah.
sportsman. Armchair footballer.
Yeah.
They
That's,
can't be bothered to go to the pitch to kick the ball around themselves, but they'll you
yeah.
know sit in the armchair and watch a game on the telly.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
yeah.
and still have their opinions and still be rude
Yeah.
when the footballer doesn't do exactly what they want, even though they have no chance to do it themselves.
Well, I mean, that's all part of it, really. I mean, that's all part of the
Of
entertainment on it.
course,
But yeah,
of
I
course.
mean, like you, I train or I not train. I exercise by myself. Where I live. Privileged enough to have almost constant sunshine. Well, I'm looking at an overcast sky today in northeast Brazil. Yeah, I go walking. I do some bar work, not bar work. I work on some strength things on some facilities that have been provided for free. Yeah, but
You
yeah, and
you
I'll
go
do
on the
some
climbing
cycling.
frame.
Yeah, I've got on the climbing frame. Yeah, and
Yeah,
I do some
yeah.
cycling when I can, and I've got to repair my bike a bit on some things. But yeah, I mean, I've always been inverted commas reasonably active, not a top flight sports person. Um, but yeah, they are. Um, yeah, I think it's still important for our society. Obviously, it's become a multi-billion-dollar, not billion, yeah, billion pound, billion-dollar industry globally.
Well,
Um, we could argue there's possibly a bit too much money there, but um, yeah, I mean, I'd like to see it used for good. In Brazil, there are sports people who do help back with the local communities again, and who have actually been taken from the local communities. And sport is a good way again of uniting or easing problems that we have in society. Certainly, we see it here in the low income areas, the communities. They've been asked not to. We keep getting told not to call them favelas, but that's exactly what they are. Yeah, where they try and use sport as a way of, if you like, keeping younger people out of trouble, and hopefully some older ones as well. Um, and yeah, I mean, it is something that does unite us. Um, Even if we're arguing about two different teams and why something happened in families and everything, I support a different team from the rest of my family. So, which yeah, leads to some interesting conversations. Certainly around
bit of a black sheep, are we?
Well, I'll be quite honest. The rest of my family are West.
Sporting black sheep. Sporting
Yeah,
black
yeah.
sheep.
Well, the rest of my family are West Ham supporters, and I support Spurs. So
Oh,
really, you couldn't get any yeah, any worse than that. Yeah, my wife, she admits she supports Arsenal, so I don't know how we're still, how
oh.
that's worked. But yeah,
Well, I mean, what does she know?
yeah, I'm not going to say what just came to my mind. Yeah, but yeah. So in general, yeah, sport is a great uniter.
Yeah.
Um, I'd like to, and I will add this. I do like watching women's sport for all the right reasons. They are sport. I Well, when I say watch women's sport, I mean watching women compete against women.
Well, look, the like I said, the press, the media doesn't help matters.
Yeah,
I mean, there were television programs where during the Olympics, I think the lady was Dutch, a Dutch lady, a high jumper,
yeah,
and she's very pretty.
yeah.
You couldn't hide the fact that she's very pretty, but the
Mm,
media exploited her
mm.
to the full because she was pretty and not because if she was ugly as a bag of spanners, then I'm sure that there'd be less time of the camera focused on her.
I think that's equally true of men. A good-looking footballer or a good-looking, yeah, athlete is still going to draw more attention than probably one ugly like ourselves. Wherever you look,
I mean, Nobby Styles, not wanted to take anything from him, but Nobby Styles, he did all right.
yeah, well, yeah. But he was famous for being ugly, but he had a great way of playing the sport as well. It was no
Yes, well,
nonsense.
which is why I'm saying,
Yeah.
Ronaldinho Gaúcho,
Mm.
he's not a very good looker.
No, he done. He done. Yeah, I mean, he owned a street here, didn't he? He bought a street here for his family. I think something like that. Gated
He
community.
also, but it certainly made an awful lot of money because of the skill that he has.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
And this is what I say. The men's sport, I think, is based more on their ability, and a lot of the time, the women's sport is based on what they look like. If you mentioned the UFC fighter,
yeah,
and we see even Taylor the Tape,
mm,
the thing that comes up on the telly, and the ladies have got all the hair flowing.
oh yeah.
They've got all the hair
But
flowing, and they're looking sort of from the side, and which
yeah,
the men aren't. The men aren't. They're with arms folded, looking directly into the camera.
yeah. But
And
that's us men. Us men like to look hard. Women like to look a bit more feminine for each other. Not each other. Not
do
for.
they do in UFC? Not too sure about that.
Well, it's it. I mean, they go and do the business in the octagon. Yeah, and that's all that matters for me. I mean, the weigh-ins are a joke. We know that, the sort of slapping and yeah.
But I'm talking about how they're being presented by the
Well,
media.
yeah, I mean, it's yeah, we do notice. I mean, yeah, it is a Gina Carano, for instance, is going on to have a film career, um,
Don't
etc.
even know you don't even know she can act.
I've seen her in a couple of films. She can act.
Well,
I've watched her in a couple of films. She can act. Okay, she's not. She's probably not going to win an Oscar. Not that an Oscar is any great uh, thing about ability to act. No, she's quite good. She's quite good at acting. Um, yeah, and the other Ronda Rousey is as well, and probably others will go through. I mean, part of what they do is selling as well, and that's why some sports people can go through into the film industry, the entertainment industry as well.